Fear. It's a word that echoes through every human life. Whether it's fear of failure, fear of rejection, or fear of the unknown, the feeling is familiar to us all. Yet, despite its universality, fear is often something we are reluctant to discuss openly. We push it aside, hide from it, or pretend it doesn't exist. But the truth is, fear is not something to be feared itself. Instead, it is an inevitable part of growth, a signal that you are on the edge of something important, something transformative. The journey of pushing through fear is not about eliminating it altogether. In fact, fear is often an indicator that you are stepping outside your comfort zone, that you are embarking on a path that could lead to significant personal growth. The goal is to learn how to embrace fear, how to push through it, and ultimately how to thrive despite it. This exploration of fear will take you on a long, reflective journey, a journey that will not only encourage you to confront your fears but also help you understand the beauty of pushing through them. So, let's dive in. Understanding the nature of fear. Fear is deeply ingrained in the human experience. From an evolutionary standpoint, fear was essential for survival. It alerted early humans to dangers in their environment, predators, natural disasters, and other threats. Fear triggered the fight-or-flight response, helping our ancestors either confront a danger or escape from it. In modern times, our fears are not often about survival, yet they can feel just as overwhelming. Today, fear manifests in more abstract ways: fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of uncertainty. These fears may not threaten our physical safety, but they can be just as paralyzing. Understanding fear as a natural and necessary emotion is the first step in learning how to push through it. Fear is not inherently bad, it's a signal that you are on the edge of something significant. It's a sign that you care about the outcome, that what lies ahead is meaningful. And that's why pushing through fear is so essential for personal growth. Acknowledge your fear, the power of self-awareness. The first step in pushing through fear is to acknowledge it. Many people try to ignore or suppress their fears, believing that this will make them go away. But in reality, ignoring fear often amplifies it. It's like trying to push a beach ball underwater. It takes a lot of effort, and eventually, it will pop back up with even more force. Acknowledging your fear doesn't mean giving in to it. It simply means recognizing that it exists and that it's okay to feel afraid. Self-awareness is a powerful tool in overcoming fear. When you are aware of your fear, you can begin to understand where it's coming from and why it's there. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Why does this fear exist? What am I afraid will happen if I face this fear? Often, fear is rooted in the unknown. We fear what we don't understand, what we can't predict. But by shining a light on your fear, by acknowledging it and understanding it, you take away some of its power. Embracing vulnerability, the key to courage. Pushing through fear requires courage, and courage requires vulnerability. When you face your fears, you are stepping into the unknown, exposing yourself to the possibility of failure or rejection. But it is in this vulnerability that true courage is found. Brené Brown, a researcher and author known for her work on vulnerability and courage, emphasizes that vulnerability is not weakness, it's the birthplace of courage. To be vulnerable is to be brave. It's to say, I am willing to take a risk, even though I don't know what the outcome will be. Think of the times in your life when you have been most courageous. Chances are, those moments involved a great deal of vulnerability. Maybe it was speaking up in a meeting, even though you were afraid of being judged. Maybe it was starting your own business, even though you feared failure. Or maybe it was sharing your true feelings with someone, even though you risked rejection. Each of these moments required vulnerability, and each of these moments was an act of courage. To push through fear, you must be willing to be vulnerable. You must be willing to take risks, to face uncertainty, and to embrace the possibility of failure. Taking the first step, action as an antidote to fear. One of the most effective ways to push through fear is to take action. Fear often thrives in inaction. The more you think about your fears, the bigger they become. But when you take action, you disrupt the cycle of fear. You move from a place of paralysis to a place of progress. It doesn't matter how small the action is, what matters is that you take it. If you're afraid of starting a new project, take the first step, no matter how small. Maybe it's writing the first sentence of a proposal or reaching out to a potential collaborator. If you're afraid of public speaking, start by practicing in front of a small, supportive group. The key is to take action, even if it's just a tiny step. Action creates momentum, and momentum is a powerful force in overcoming fear. When you take action, you prove to yourself that you are capable. You begin to build confidence, and as your confidence grows, your fear diminishes. The role of mindset in pushing through fear. Your mindset, the way you think about yourself and the world around you, plays a crucial role in pushing through fear. A growth mindset, which is the belief that your abilities can be developed through hard work, learning, and persistence, is particularly important when facing fear. People with a growth mindset see challenges as opportunities for growth. They understand that failure is not a reflection of their worth, but rather a stepping stone on the path to success. This mindset allows them to push through fear because they are not afraid of failure, they see it as part of the process. On the other hand, a fixed mindset, the belief that your abilities are static and unchangeable, can make it difficult to overcome fear. People with a fixed mindset are more likely to avoid challenges because they fear that failure will reveal their limitations. They see fear as a sign that they are not capable, rather than a signal that they are on the verge of growth. By cultivating a growth mindset, you can reframe your fear as an opportunity. Instead of seeing fear as something to avoid, you can see it as a sign that you are pushing yourself to grow and learn. Reframing fear, changing your perspective. One of the most powerful tools for pushing through fear is reframing. Reframing is the process of changing the way you think about a situation. When it comes to fear, reframing allows you to see fear not as a barrier, but as a catalyst for growth. For example, instead of thinking, "I'm afraid of failing," you can reframe your fear to say, "I'm excited to learn from this experience, no matter the outcome." Instead of thinking, "I'm afraid of being judged," you can reframe your fear to say, "I'm proud of myself for having the courage to speak up, regardless of what others think." Reframing doesn't change the reality of the situation, but it changes your perception of it. And when you change your perception, you change your experience. Fear becomes less daunting when you see it as an opportunity for growth rather than a threat. Building resilience, the power of persistence. Pushing through fear requires resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks and keep moving forward, even when things get tough. Resilience is not something you are born with, it's a skill that can be developed over time. One way to build resilience is by practicing self-compassion. When you face fear and encounter setbacks, it's easy to be hard on yourself. You might think, "I should be stronger," or "I should have been able to handle this better." But this kind of self-criticism only makes fear stronger. Instead, practice self-compassion by being kind to yourself. Acknowledge that facing fear is difficult, and give yourself credit for the progress you've made. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend who is going through a tough time. Another way to build resilience is by focusing on your progress, not just the end goal. When you are pushing through fear, it's easy to get caught up in the idea of success or failure. But progress is not always linear, and success doesn't always come immediately. By focusing on the small wins along the way, the actions you've taken, the lessons you've learned, you can stay motivated and resilient, even when things don't go as planned. Harnessing fear as a catalyst for growth. Fear has a unique ability to fuel personal and professional transformation. Instead of seeing it as a roadblock, fear can serve as a guide, directing you to the areas where you are capable of the most profound growth. By leaning into the discomfort, we uncover strengths we didn't realize we had, and we tap into reservoirs of potential that are only accessible when we challenge ourselves to move through fear. Conclusion: the beauty of pushing through fear. Pushing through fear is not easy, but it is one of the most rewarding experiences you can have. Every time you face your fears and push through them, you grow stronger, more resilient, and more courageous. You discover new strengths within yourself, and you open the door to new opportunities. Fear is not something to be avoided or suppressed, it is something to be embraced. It is a signal that you are on the edge of growth, that you are about to embark on a journey that will challenge and transform you. So, the next time fear arises, don't run from it. Acknowledge it, embrace it, and push through it. For it is in pushing through fear that you will find your truest potential and your greatest opportunities for growth.